Have you ever wondered what a King Kong remake would be like if it were a Disney animated feature that was direct to video and animated by the same studio that worked on their TV shows? Well, it sort of exists. It's not actually a Disney movie and has nothing to do with Disney in general, but you can tell it's definitely trying hard to feel like a Disney movie. And it's called The Mighty Kong. I'm sure most of you heard of this by now, it's kind of infamously known, but for a while not many people knew Kong had an animated movie. Kong has had a few more animated films since then, but this was the big ape's first leap into a cartoon motion picture, and it just randomly showed up in 1998. Now, according to Ray Morton's King Kong book, the film was apparently made to capitalize on the hype surrounding TriStar's Godzilla. Now, some advertising for the movie does mention Godzilla, but it's hard to say how accurate that really is. I mean, this was someone's response to trying to cash in on a big budget Hollywood movie. Now, I know it might sound like I'm dogging on this film already, but I really don't hate it. In fact, I grew up watching this movie as a kid, and I thought it was really entertaining. Admittedly, I haven't seen it in about 20 years, and my old VHS copy is long gone. Thankfully, it was released on DVD though, and is available streaming everywhere else, for free mind you. Well, that's good to know after I already shelled out the money to get this. It could have been spent on a pizza. Joking aside, I did really want to get this for my collection, because it does have sentimental value to me, and I'm glad to finally have it back in... what? No. Oh no, they didn't. Oh, they did. They did. Okay, so the reason I'm whining like a toddler right now is because whoever re-released this messed up the aspect ratio and made it widescreen. Now, for the two people who don't know, this movie was originally not made in a widescreen format. That means when they converted it, the top and bottom of the frame had to be cropped out, and since this movie loves doing close-ups, you're almost never going to see a full shot of someone's head. Yes, it's also like this for the streaming releases too. Now, I know I should just appreciate that this film isn't trapped on a dead format, and the picture does look sharp, I'll give it that, but still, and this goes for any company out there, don't mess with the aspect ratio. Unless there is a true widescreen presentation of the film, zooming in and cropping things out is the worst way you could re-release something. Okay, I'm done ranting. Let's get to the actual movie. The Mighty Kong was a direct-to-video film released by Warner Brothers in May 1998, although it apparently had a limited theatrical run about a month earlier. I have to say I like the title The Mighty Kong. It really helps it stand out from being just another thing called King Kong. It was directed by Art Scott and written by William J. Keenan, who also handled the English language script for King Kong Escapes. The movie is basically the same story as the original King Kong, but stripped down to its barest elements. The story follows a famous filmmaker, C.B. Denham, who's out to make his next big movie. By chance he meets an apple thief named Ann Darrow.
There's our star.
He sees star potential in her and recruits her for the film. And they all head off to an uncharted island, where they run into some wild natives and a bunch of prehistoric creatures. Now before moving on, I just want to say that I know this is a film aimed at a much younger audience, and I was a kid when I first watched it, and I did enjoy it. However, that doesn't mean I can't recognize its problems, and believe me, it's got a few. The movie runs a little over an hour long, and when you compare that to the 1933 movie, which clocks in about an hour and 40 minutes, you can imagine a lot of scenes are either missing or rushed through. Now, it's worth noting that this movie isn't actually adapting the 1933 version. Instead, it's based on Delos Lovelace's novelization of King Kong. Now, for those who may not know, the 1932 novel was originally written to help promote the film. It was based on an early version of the screenplay, so while the story is largely the same, there are some noticeable differences. An example being Carl Denham's name being changed to C.B. Denham for this movie. Since the character was only called Denham in the book, the movie couldn't directly use the name. Although the credits don't seem to have a problem using it, I guess as long as you don't hear it, it's fine. And the biggest and most infamous change is that it adds a bunch of musical numbers throughout the narrative. The Sherman Brothers, who were best known for their musical works on Disney projects, provided the original songs for this movie. I often hear a lot of people say that they're horrible, but honestly, and this might just be nostalgia speaking, I kinda like them. Now, I'm not saying I listen to these songs on a daily basis or anything, but I've always found them kinda catchy. CB Denim's Sales Pitch, Wild Animal Follies, and even Dolly of Papali Ollie are all super cheesy, but I weirdly love them for that reason. That said, I wouldn't call every song a winner. I don't care much for Denim's second song, it's kind of a worst version of his first. And Jack and Anne's song is probably the corniest romance song I've ever listened to. I guess now's a good time to bring up that Anne Darrow is voiced by Jodie Benson, probably best known for her role as Ariel on The Little Mermaid. And I'm pretty sure the film pays homage to that in one of the music videos. Now, these songs add to the narrative's runtime, and that in of itself is not that long, but it does hone in a lot of the main plot points and moments from the novel, even if it does rush through them. Disregarding the intro sequence, Kong himself actually doesn't appear until about 43 minutes into the film, which would be fine and all if the movie spent that time getting to him to develop the characters so we'll care about them once things get dangerous. And I will give the film a D- for that attempt.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm not saying the characters in the 1933 film or even the original novel were incredibly deep, but they had an old Hollywood charm and a certain charisma that made them engaging. The cast of The Mighty Kong just don't leave that same impression. It feels like no one has any chemistry with one another, they all just come off as arrogant to each other. Denham treats his shadow Roscoe here as a living prop who's always kissing his ass. Jack and Anne's romance literally comes out of nowhere. Oh, and Jack Driscoll, don't even get me started on this character. He just seems to do whatever the plot commands of him. Anne Darrow needs a romantic partner? Well, Jack's the man to be that man. Why they love each other? I haven't a clue. Oh, and also he suddenly cares for Kong.
There ought to be something, Captain.
What?
Why do you care? You were just running for dear life away from this beast, and now all of a sudden you care. Jack, who even are you? Even Anne and Kong's relationship is non-existent here. Okay, she's terrified of him in the original film throughout the whole adventure, but it's not like that in this movie. She deeply cares for him at the end, but nothing in the story tells me otherwise how that happened. Okay, he saved her from a few dinosaurs and he dried her off with his stinky ape breath. Okay, I guess that must have turned her on. There's really nothing in the movie that meaningfully builds this connection between them. As a result, their relationship ends up feeling completely forced and contrived. The story starts moving way too fast once we reach the island. There's hardly any time to take in what's happening because the film seems like it's rushing through a checklist of events it has to get through before the movie's over. The Skull Island monster battles are what most fans would be interested in, but you can hardly even call them battles here. They're breezed over so quickly and really aren't entertaining. Even as a kid, I thought they were pretty underwhelming. Since this movie's target audience is kids, a lot of the action had to be toned down. Death is shown and mentioned, but nothing really graphic ever happens. Even in the monster fights, Kong never actually kills anything. Although, let's be real, he probably just killed that couple in the car. The film may have that iconic line, "It was beauty that killed the beast," but spoiler alert, quickly for those who might actually care, Kong actually manages to survive the fall, and the film's over. So what happened to Kong afterwards? I don't know. Denham mentions something about giving him his own island. I mean, how actually rich is this guy? Well, if the events of Son of Kong tell me anything, he's not going to be Mr. Moneybags too much longer. Overall, The Mighty Kong is really only going to satisfy toddlers, and maybe die-hard Kong fans. And as a kid, I found it entertaining. As an adult, the film still holds some nostalgic charm to me, but the story feels underdeveloped, and many of the characters come across as exaggerated or lacking enough depth to relate to. The animation can look good at times, and at other moments we get this weird walk. I don't know the budget for this movie, maybe they did their best, and if cheesy music videos aren't your thing, this is probably one to skip.
Dread.
Thanks for watching towards the end, and I'll see you next time.